So we didn't film very much today, and so we're actually going to do a Q&A. We've had a couple requests to do Q&As anyways, and so we thought it would be a good time to do it. Shaileen's on working midnight shift right now, and so she hasn't slept much, and so it's been just kind of a little bit stressful for her, and like I said, it would be a good time for Q&A. What do you say?
Sounds good to me. So this is gonna be like an adoption type related Q&A. So
yeah, it seems like most of the
adoption stuff.
So it seems like most of the questions we get are about our adoption anyways, so I think this will be really good.
First question was from Artsy Mama 2013. If you had to do it all over again, would you ever consider fostering? If not, would you consider a closed adoption instead of open? But you seem so at peace with Jax knowing both of his families. Foster, we have considered doing foster care. I don't know how likely that will be, but we've thought about it. I think if we were to ever do foster care, I think we would wait until our children are older.
Yeah, because with foster care, you're not guaranteed like an infant, which isn't like imperative or anything. If we were to have older children, I think we want Jax to be older, just for a couple reasons.
I think I would like to have Jax be the oldest, and I'm not set on that. I think would rather him be the oldest, but I don't really care either way.
But we're open.
Would we consider closed adoption? If we felt like the situation was right, and if that baby was meant to be in our family, we would consider a closed adoption, but we really feel like open adoption is the way that our family is meant to.
I think the way we look at it is we will do whatever the birth family wants. Honoring their request, I think, is very important to us, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
And if that's what they want, and they still want to place their child for adoption, why not? You know, every child needs a home, and we would be more than happy to do that.
Okay, so this one is from LDS Modest Clothing Rooms. It says, hi Shailene, Kurt, and Jax. My question is, would you ever consider adopting older kids, possibly siblings? By the way, love your family, and Jax is adorable. Thank you.
Jinx, you owe me a lemonade. Yeah, so that kind of goes along with the other question. Yes, we'd consider adopting older kids, I think. You know, it all depends on the situation and what we feel is right.
People ask us all the time, we're not looking for a kid. We're not looking for a child. We're not looking for a baby. We are looking for our child and our baby. They could be an infant like Jax was, I mean, not even born yet.
Yeah.
Or they could be 15 years old. We don't know right now. That's kind of where we're at. We'll do whatever is meant for our family.
I totally agree.
And then Aubrey Franklin, love you Aubrey. Aubrey's a birth mom. She asked, does having an open adoption ever make you feel uncomfortable as your role as a mother? And then do you like the birth mom asking about Jax? And does that make me feel uncomfortable? Being 1,000,000% honest, sometimes yes. 90% of the time, it's awesome. But it is, I mean, some days are hard. But I mean, that situation has got to be uncomfortable, I think, on both sides at some point. She's the one that gave birth to him. She is his mother just as much as I'm his mother. Sometimes that can get a little bit uncomfortable. I mean, not knowing what to say in situations. Like, I think the reason I feel the most uncomfortable sometimes is I feel like I don't want to say things to upset her or to make her feel sad. You know, I'm the one that's raising him and she's not, and I don't want to make her feel uncomfortable that way. Do I like it when she asks us about Jax?
Do you like it when they call me Big Papa? Sorry. Yes,
we love it. It shows a sign that she wants to be a part of his life and that she wants to have a relationship with him. No remote.
And I think, like, if we're gonna have an open adoption, we want it to be an open adoption. Yep. We want Jax to know his birth family, and we want to know them too. They're part of our family.
And then the gorgeous Meg Brink asked, how was the beginning of the adoption process for you guys, and the early stages of waiting for a match? Obviously there's a lot to it, and I can't remember, but didn't think you guys went with an agency. We were with an agency. Our situation was quite weird. All of our matches came, because if you're new, or if you have, come here. If you're new or if you haven't followed our channel before, we had 2 severe failed adoptions before we were placed with Jax. So all 3 of our adoption situations, we actually either found on our own or through like friends or family. None of them were brought to us through an agency. We ended up still finalizing through an agency just because we were new at it. We didn't really know what was going on or what to do. But I think the beginning stages of the adoption process were really difficult just because we were still struggling with the infertility side of things. Yes. And we were still trying to overcome that aspect of it. That made it really difficult, that not only are we not in control of my body and me not being able to conceive a child, but we're now also not in control of
the process.
When
we can have a baby.
And when and if we would ever be placed or chosen with a baby. So I think the beginning stages were quite difficult, and they were hard on us. I mean, I think that was what made us grow more than the failed adoptions, I think. That it was going through that waiting process, and
it just grow closer together for sure.
Yeah, so I don't know if hopefully that answered your question. M. Hosier Photography said, my husband and I are in the process of adopting, and I love watching your vlogs.
Oh, thank you.
I'd love to know how you approach open adoption. That's a huge worry for me throughout this whole process. Views, thoughts, and experiences.
The way we think of open adoption, at least for me, is just more family to love Jacks. If you think of it that way and you're going into it with an open mind, I think it's really doable. Yeah. I really do.
I think it's important to not look at it as a competition. Like, you're not fighting to be your child's mother. You're not fighting to be your child's father.
They chose you for a reason.
They chose you for a reason. They trust you with that. Like, your worry, and you can ask Ashley Mitchell this. She's a big tough girl. She is a birth mom. She talks about this all the time, about how once you've adopted a child, your worry and your focus should be on the child. That's and you need to worry about, I mean, they've trusted you with that baby to raise the baby and raise their children. And so I think that as long as you keep that out of your mind, like that it's not a competition, like you're not fighting to be a mother with somebody, that they've trusted you with that, and that as long as you are taking care of the child, your relationship is going to be that much easier with the birth parent.
That's true. I truly agree.
Right? Ness asked, if you could, how would you ease the process of adoption for those who are trying now or thinking of doing so in the future?
Can I answer it?
Yeah.
So the thing I always say with adoption is it's out of your hands. It really is. And so what you need to do is focus on yourself and your relationship with your spouse or significant other, whatever. And if you focus on that, you'll grow stronger as a couple, which I think we did.
Oh yeah.
And it makes it so you'll be stronger for your child when they get there.
Yep.
And I think it will make a huge difference in your family.
Quinn asked, did you always plan to have an open adoption, and how did you come to that decision? Kurt was always open to an open adoption. I was not. When we first started the adoption process, I wanted a closed adoption because I had that fear of, I did not want to co-parent. I did not want to have that feeling of there's two moms and there's two dads and sharing time, and like I thought all of the negative stigmas, all the negative things you hear about adoption, I thought every single one of those. I thought that I don't want to have an open relationship because I don't want them to come back and try to get the baby, and I don't want to do this because of that, and I don't want to do this because of that, and I was scared to death. Felt like I didn't want to deal with any of that. And then we went to like an adoption conference and went to a panel where it was birth parents speaking. It was like kind of a Q&A type panel. I have never had an experience like that in my life before, where I had felt something so powerful and so strong take over me than I did during that meeting. These women were so gracious in their words and so kind, and so they talked basically how Kurt was referring to it earlier.
I think we were able to put a face behind our idea of a birth family.
Yeah.
Like in our mind, we thought of, you know, a lot of people do, which is a big misunderstanding, that birth families, like birth mothers and birth fathers, are these, you know, 12-year-old crackheads.
Yeah.
It's not true. They're just like us. Like some of like our best friends are birth families and birth moms and stuff like that, and they are like the sweetest, you know, people in the world that are the most down-to-earth people. And so if you guys haven't seen a birth parent panel, I'm sure they're all over YouTube. Go search for a birth parent adoption panel and watch it.
I am so grateful we had that experience of going to that birth parent panel, because it's the best decision we've ever made to be able to have an open adoption. Unfound Family, They just asked the same thing. Have you thought about adopting an older child?
Yes.
Yes, we have.
Depends on the situation, like we discussed earlier.
Yep.
Thanks for your question, though, again.
Dale Williams asked, so how open is your adoption, and why did you choose to have an open adoption? So we've talked about that part. How open is our open adoption? It's quite open. On the scale of what most people consider the standard open adoption is letters and pictures a few times a year. Any form of adoption, open adoption, in my book, is wonderful. Ours is quite
and we even wish it was open. I think we even wish
it was more. But we have visits. I mean, Jack has 2. We've had 7 or 8 visits.
He's meeting with his birth mom on Friday.
We talk and text and talk on the phone and email. She follows us on Instagram and Facebook, and she watches the vlogs. And I think that we have a very, very open adoption. Can the birth mother just show up anytime she wants, or does it need to be arranged? We always arrange things more or less because we live so far apart.
And make sure our schedules work out.
And our schedules are kind of weird. Shiloh Owens Johnson asked, are we going to adopt again?
We are hoping to.
Yes.
We don't know when, but we will.
Hopefully sooner rather than later. I would love to adopt tomorrow, but I don't have $50,000, so if you guys want to give us $50,000,
yeah, we'll just like leave a place down below to leave your credit card.
Yeah. How was it emotionally opening your hearts and lives to a child you know still has some attachment to a birth mother?
That's a good question.
That's a good question. I think with Jack's being, I mean, he was an infant, a newborn, so he didn't like grow up with her at all. I mean, obviously in the womb you create that bond,
he has that bond when he sees her.
So
it's there.
I mean, he sleeps with her picture at night, for Pete's sake. Like, they have a beautiful, beautiful bond, and it is amazing. I don't think it's really affected us emotionally at all, has it?
I don't think so. I think it's in positive ways.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's, I mean, emotionally, yeah, I tear up because it's so awesome that he prays for Mama Serena every night, and like, it's awesome. If you adopt again, would it be open or closed? And do you think that people would be more open to adoption if the monetary cost wasn't so high?
Yes. Like we answered earlier, we'd be open to anything with open or closed, with whatever the birth family wants. And then in regards to the monetary cost, I have a hard time with that.
Yeah. There are so many children out there waiting.
And I think a lot of adoption agencies are in it for the wrong reason. They're in it for profit, which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
I mean, obviously a business needs to make money. But
when it's costing somebody, I mean, $60,000, $80,000 to adopt a child,
it's bad.
That's a lot of money.
Last question is do you think it's better to go private or through an agency? That's when it's hard, because private, you can get away with it being a lot cheaper, a lot less expensive, a lot less money. You have negatives that way as well. A lot of times you don't have a professional, so if you don't know what you're doing, then you can get into gray areas that way. A lot of times that means that the expectant mom or the expectant parents are not being taken care of, which I think in a way is very important for them to be able to make sure that their needs are met through the adoption process. But also, like we've said with agencies, sometimes you can feel a little bit taken advantage of that way as well. Thank you so much for all of your questions. We really appreciate it. And yes, we are hoping to adopt again. So make sure that you pass along our information if you ever hear of a situation.
Yes, please.
Because this little guy, he wants to be a brother so bad.
Do you want to be a big brother?
Do you want to be a big brother?
I want to show him, but he's running around naked. You guys don't want to see that.
Yeah, he's naked. So we love you guys. Thank you so much for watching.
And if you guys have any other questions, leave them down below.
Yeah.
And I'll be more than happy to answer them. Or Shailene. Probably me, though, because I'm always the one that answers them. So, anyways.
Okay, we love you.
Thanks for watching. We will see you guys again tomorrow. Peace out.
What a better way to change my perception and how to make that this out.